But you also hear from many Christians who are like, look, I am on the fence, but the fact that through your satire, you're making me look at this stuff in a different way because I didn't a lot of the things that you were mocking. Let's just take that Butker commencement address for a second. Nothing he said on paper was maybe as extreme as it might have been. It sounds in place at like
Mhm.
in an evangelical sermon.
Right.
And yet, when you strip it from that context and you realize, oh, he's talking about this at a college commencement where women are graduating because a lot of them want to pursue these careers that are outside the home. This is actually kind of messed up. And I
Right.
didn't see that until it was made fun of or that aspect of it was pointed out to me. I'm wondering if you hear from those people as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely do. It's funny to me. I actually get usually those people privately message me or they slide into my DMs because they don't really want their community to know that they like I literally have had people message me that are like, "Hey, I can't follow you because I don't want people around me to know that I follow you, but you're really opening my eyes to things and I just wanted to like cheer you on very secretly." um
Wow.
yeah,
That's
I get a
that's an
lot of
awesome.
yeah, so I even hear I've even had messages from like current pastors who will say I really appreciate your work. You're making me rethink some things, but also like I can't leave this public comment
Right.
because this like my livelihood depends on me holding a certain belief. And I have a lot, I can have empathy for a lot of those people because it is a really hard place to be where your livelihood depends on you keeping the beliefs that you have forever. And a lot of these pastors, they went into ministry straight out of high school or college, like when they were like before their brains fully developed, and they're expected to keep their exact same beliefs their entire life and never change their mind. And now a lot of them, they get married and they have kids, and now their entire livelihood is built on them having those beliefs, and they don't have a backup degree to not there's only so many places where you could say like, well, I can make a really good PowerPoint sermon, you know?
I'm wondering if they ever find a way to work any of your humor into it, because I wonder if it could be played for a laugh, but maybe open some minds as well. But the thing you mentioned about the pastors in that situation, I mean, I've talked before about the clergy project and the idea of, uh, yeah, maybe 10, 15 years ago, this is something Daniel Dennett talked about, Linda Lascola, a researcher, but they said there are these pastors out there who are doubtful, but this is the only world they've ever known. Their livelihood, their families' livelihood depends on them staying in this job. And so they have to struggle with having these doubts, but they have nowhere else to go. Can we, at the very least, provide a forum for there to communicate with each other? Because they can't leave public comments on videos
Right.
like yours. And that is a tough situation to be in. I am curious now that you're somewhat on the other side of where you used to be, what have you seen about atheists? Because when you're steeped in that culture, of course, we're also the bad guys. But now that you're probably a little more empathetic toward where we're coming from, what do you see as the problems you have noticed on the other side, on the atheist side? Like, what are atheists doing wrong? What rubs you the wrong way? What never worked on you in terms of the things we
Mhm.
think are going to be slam dunk arguments or something like that?
Yeah. Great question. I'm a little nervous because I'm on an atheist show, so I gotta
Don't worry, we have our swords out.
Great, I gotta go find my Jim Baker one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I will say one thing that I've learned that was very surprising is that most atheists that I have encountered are very kind for the most part. I do encounter, just like I get some hate from conservative Christians, I can also get some pretty mean comments from atheists too um, that demand I give a defense of why I'm a Christian, that they believe every form of Christianity is pure evil and a harm to society. And I could see the argument being made for, institutional religion. But I don't think it's helpful to paint such a broad brush with anybody. I think everybody and any type of religion or belief system is more nuanced either pure good or pure evil. I think we all kind of fall somewhere in the middle, just being humans. Um, I will say one thing I would love for atheists to know is that when they show up, like I don't personally take it this way because I've left the persecution kink behind, but a lot of Christians, especially the more apologetic, conservative, fundamentalist ones, if an atheist comes into their comment section and just wants to debate them and is like, well, Jesus was a monster and, like you believe in Sky Daddy or you like just any sort of negativity, even if it's not super, derogatory, they will take that as persecution. And that will only make them feel like they're doing the right thing more. And they will use you in a sermon illustration of like, well, this atheist just came in and attacked me and I stood my ground. And like literally their argument could make no sense, but they will use that interaction to rally their base to prove that Christian persecution actually exists in America.
I've definitely seen that happen, where even the mildest criticisms, if they come off as dickish, yeah, it's used as, see, we told you everything we said
Yeah.
to our congregations, our ministries, it's true. Um, is there different tack, different question? How much Christian media do you consume now? Not because you enjoy it, but
Right.
because, like me, you hate yourself and you just subject yourself to it for whatever reason, whether it's research or just like, wow, I can't believe this is stuff I used to like. Like, how much of it do
Mm.
you watch
I mean,
or
I think my
follow on
yeah,
social
I think my
media too?
algorithm hates me because I still
Yeah.
get served a lot of really evangelical content. And a lot of my content that I make is in response to a lot of especially during election year Christian nationalist pastors. I went and watched Josh Howerton's super Christian nationalist sermon this past Sunday, or some of it, because I'm like, I need to know what this is so I can respond to this.
Was that the one? I mean, sorry, I get them all confused now, but there were pastors that were literally endorsing candidates as they were talking about the upcoming election. That happens all the time. I
Yeah.
forgot what Howerton specifically said.
I didn't watch the whole thing, but he was basically saying he doesn't support specific candidates. They all say that. They're like,
Yes.
we don't tell you who to vote for as long as you vote for biblical values and it's pro-life, pro-Israel, anti-gay, anti-women, anti-immigrant, and rhymes with rump. Like they basically tell you, and we all know who they say. And so he basically did that too. But he also had a weird take. He said that, which I found really laughable. He said that the church actually hasn't moved on politics, but that politics has moved away from the church, and saying that politics has become spiritual and the church actually never changed. And I want to be like, no, the church actually used to support abortion
Yeah.
and changed because they realized being racist wasn't cutting it anymore.
It's
But
funny.
they
There
don't know their
are
own history. Yeah.
Right. I have books where you could see the same right wing apologists who have continued their careers and continue to pump out books about how to defend the faith. But if you go back to like the early 70s and things like that, you could see in their books their justification for abortion and how, like, within 5 years, they're like, oh, right, we're not doing that one anymore. Got it.
Right.
And they just changed their tune. It's like, we have version 1.0. Like, it's still here.
Yeah.
When you were writing your book, I'm curious, did you find it more traumatic to rehash all this stuff, or was it more cathartic for you?
I think it was a little bit of both. Like in some ways it was really heavy putting myself back in that world and just realizing, you don't realize how heavy the load is that you're carrying until you set it down and then you feel how light everything is. And so it's a really exhausting ideology to have, to constantly, have to question your very instincts because you're taught you're inherently sinful, and that at any moment a devil or a demon or Satan can sneak in there and try to pull you down the wrong path. And is this thought a sin? Is this thought from God? And you can't make friends who aren't Christians without an ulterior motive, because their blood could be on your hands when you believe in a literal, eternal conscious torment hell, which I do not believe in anymore. And so, but I think the hardest part was because my dad passed away in 2011. And when he died, we were very much on the same page still. And so I've never known him to not have those beliefs because I went on this journey after he had passed. And, it was, I wrestled with a lot of emotions of like, am I betraying my dad? Because I was really close with him and I still love him a lot and I miss him. But then also just like the balance of I really love this man and he meant so much to me, but also a lot of the things that he said and did were harmful. And, and that I said and did were harmful. And so just kind of reconciling, like I saw a lot of good in my dad, but that does not negate, good intentions don't negate the harmful impact. And writing it was kind of like therapy because I personally had never really talked about my dad on like my TikTok or my Instagram channels because there's a lot of really complicated emotions and grief around him. Um, and it's just really personal to me. Like I feel like I can critique my dad, but then when someone else is like, "Your dad is a monster," like I get really defensive of him because it's just really easy to demonize people. But writing the book was just a reminder too to me that everyone is just more nuanced. And even people that are in the MAGA movement, so much of the reason why they're so awful is because they genuinely believe that Democrats are like drinking children's blood under a pizza parlor, like there's that's a really scary thing to believe and that they can control hurricanes and um which does not negate the harm that they cause. But I just realized like if you really believe that, then you can rationalize why they say and do the things that they do. And it just kind of gave me a little more empathy to be like, okay, well, hey, I used to really believe a lot of this stuff too, and I changed, and I should give them the benefit of the doubt that when presented with new information that they might change too.
Thanks for sharing that, and I'm sorry you had to kind of relive all that.